Franchthi Cave or Franchthi Cave is an archaeological site overlooking Kilatha Bay in the Argolis Gulf, opposite the village of Kilatha in southern Argolis, Greece. Humans first occupied the cave during the Upper Paleolithic, appearing around 38,000 BC and possibly earlier. Groups continued to live in or seasonally visit the cave through the Mesolithic and Neolithic eras, with occasional short episodes of apparent abandonment. Last occupied around 3000 BC, final Neolithic, Franchthi, it was used as a shelter for around 35,000 years and is one of the most thoroughly studied sites from the Stone Age in southeast Europe. Entrance to Franchthi Cave seen from Kilatha. Excavation history. T.W. Jacobson, a professor of classical archaeology and classical studies at Indiana University, began excavations at Franchthi Cave in 1967. The dig was only intended to temporarily occupy Jacobson and his fellow researcher, M.H. Jamieson, for one short season, while they waited for land use issues to be resolved at a nearby site. But it soon became clear that Franchthi Cave was more important than they had anticipated. The excavation, overseen by Jacobson, would continue for nearly a decade, ending in 1976. Since then, numerous scholars have examined the extensive finds. Paleolithic. During much of its history, Franchthi was significantly further from the coastline than it is today due to lower sea levels that have since risen around 120 meters, or 400 feet. Thus, its inhabitants looked out on a coastal plain that was slowly submerged over the course of their occupation. During the Upper Paleolithic, Franchthi Cave was seasonally occupied by a small group or groups probably in the range of 25 to 30 people who mainly hunted wild ass and red deer, carrying a stone toolkit of flint bladelets and scrapers. Its use as a campsite increased considerably after the last glacial maximum, with an occasional hiatus in the sequence of occupation. Obsidian from the island of Melos appears at Franchthi as early as 13,000 BC, offering the earliest evidence of seafaring and navigational skills by anatomically modern humans in Greece. There is evidence that suggests ancient mariners, such as Homo erectus or Homo heidelbergensis, may have reached Crete at least 130,000 years ago. Map. Shown within Peloponnese. Alternative name. Franchthi Cave. Coordinates. Periods. Paleolithic to Neolithic. Public access? Yes. The cave also contains some of the earliest evidence for agriculture in Greece. Around 7000 BC, the remains of domesticated plants and animals are found along the usual wild plant and animal species hunted and gathered during the Mesolithic, suggesting that either the inhabitants of Franchthi had begun to practice agriculture or trading for seeds and meat with the Neolithic people who had recently arrived from the Near East. There has been some debate about whether agriculture developed locally in Greece or was introduced by colonists. It is now generally believed that immigrants from the pre-pottery Neolithic bee cultures of the Near East arrived by boat at the beginning of the 7th millennium BC to settle Greece, circa 6900 BC, introducing agriculture. For some time, the evidence from Franchthi was used as an example in support of locally developed agriculture, but more detailed study of the remains has demonstrated that the evidence supports the foreign introduction of domesticated plants and animals. The Mesolithic hunter-gatherers of Greece rapidly adopted the methods introduced to them by Neolithic colonists, including at Franchthi Cave. During the Neolithic, the main occupancy of the cave shifted to an area outside the entrance called the Paralia, where terracing walls for growing crops were built. It is believed the inhabitants also occupied a village below the Paralia, which is now submerged beneath the sea. Several anthropomorphic and zoomorphic figurines have been recovered at Franchthi from the Neolithic era. It has been suggested that the site may have served as a workshop for making cockle shell beads to trade with inland communities during the early Neolithic. The cave and the paralia were abandoned around 3000 BC. Franchthi area of Ladha Bay is considered a strong candidate for having a submerged Neolithic village, and in 2012 a search was launched for any underwater evidence of such a site. Called the Bay of Kaladha Project, it is a collaboration between the University of Geneva and the Greek Affiliate of Underwater Antiquities. Its first step was to conduct coring, sampling, and charting to create a detailed map of the paleo shorelines and submerged prehistoric landscapes of the late Pleistocene and early Holocene for use in discovering traces of prehistoric human activity. This study of the seafloor involved 2 research vessels, the Alcyon from the Hellenic Center for Marine Research and Planet Solar, currently the world's largest solar-powered boat, which was commissioned by the University of Geneva for its Terra Submersa program. In 2014, the Terra Submersa team, led by Julian Beck, was waiting for permission to conduct their survey of the Franchthi area of Kaladha Bay. By their time, they ran some training dives several hundred meters north, just outside the mouth of the bay at Lambayana Beach. These dives revealed very old pottery fragments and odd seafloor anomalies that piqued their interest. Returning in 2015 for a more thorough investigation, they found the ruins of an early Bronze Age city. The site spans 1.2 hectares, or 3.0 acres, and lies beneath 1 and 3 meters, 3 or 10 feet of water. It includes the foundations of buildings, stone paved surfaces that were likely roads, and what appear to be the remains of a fortification wall with 3 large towers. Such a defensive structure would be the first of its kind to be discovered from the early Bronze Age in Greece. The visible remains of Lambayana are dated to the early Hellenic era, circa 2650 to 2200 BC, making it a contemporary of the House of the Tiles at Lerna, the building of the Great Pyramids, and both the Cycladic and Minoan cultures of the nearby Aegean Islands. A second layer of Lambayana has been identified as early Hellenic I, circa 3200 to 2650 BC, and a third layer has revealed pottery that dates all the way back to an intermediary period between the Bronze Age and the Neolithic, suggesting that not only that the site is well over 5,000 years old, but that it may have had an overlapping relationship with the Neolithic Franchthi community. The Bay of Kaladha project continues to study the find at Lambayana, while maintaining its search for a prehistoric settlement directly off the shore of Franchthi Cave.